So a few days ago, I told a story about Donizetti's head that's just so messed up. You should go and watch it if you haven't seen it. But it got me thinking, is there any other weird composer body parts missing that we don't know about? And it turns out the head that we believe is Mozart's might not actually be Mozart's. So one important detail to keep in mind is that Mozart was buried in a pauper's grave in like a mass burial site. So when those bodies are exhumed, you don't really have any way of telling who is who. The only reason why we have this skull and why we believe it's Mozart is because there was a guy who was a grave digger, and he apparently knew which body it was of Mozart, and he dug up the grave and took the head. But keep in mind, this is more than 50 years after Mozart's death. So in 1902, which is a whole 100 years after the gravedigger took Mozart's skull, it's now in the Mozarteum in Salzburg. The bottom jaw of the skull is missing, but obviously nowadays in the modern time, DNA technology has evolved quite a lot, so people have been doing tests on this skull to see if it's actually Mozart's or not. So there was what is believed to be a Mozart family grave. So scientists went to this grave and they exhumed a few bodies, and they took some thigh bones of what they believed to be Mozart's maternal grandmother and his niece, and then they compared that DNA with the DNA found in two of the teeth in Mozart's skull. But it turns out that none of the people in the Mozart family grave were actually related to each other at all. So far, there's no way of knowing that this head actually belongs to Mozart or not. But there were some interesting things. So we believe that Mozart died of a rheumatoid fever. Actually, this skull has evidence of a head injury. There's a fracture on the left temple, and Mozart had said in his letters over a year leading up to his death that he'd been suffering from headaches. Now people are wondering, perhaps Mozart didn't die of rheumatoid fever. Maybe he died from complications of a head injury that he suffered. I wonder if we'll ever know.